The objectives of this exercise are to installing motherboard. Lay down the motherboard on the metallic plate and check which holes of the plate match with the holes on the motherboard. Fix the motherboard with screws, nuts and washers. One of the common mistakes is using washers on all holes. Use the washers only on non-metallized holes. The metallized holes are meant for proper grounding with the system case. Installing CPU and memory. It is always easier to install the CPU cooler and the memory modules on the motherboard before fitting it to the case. Install all the wires and cables that come from the casing to the motherboard. Installing front panel wires. Locate the front panel connectors on your motherboard and install the corresponding wires from the case's front panel. By this way, the reset switch, power LED, hard disk drive LED, and the speaker are connected to the motherboard. Match the polarity for the connectors that require them. The white wire should be installed to the pin marked as negative on the board. Installing the input-output brackets, drives, and power supply. It is now time to connect the USB ports and the audio jacks to the motherboard. Install them following the directions presented on the motherboard manual. The location varies depending on the motherboard model. Then install the flat cables coming from the hard disk drive. It is a good time to install the optical units and floppy disk drive. Install the cable from the hard disk drive on the IDE 1 port and cable from the optical unit like the CD or DVD drive on IDE 2 port. The floppy cable should be installed on the floppy drive port. The next step is to connect the power supply. Take care to organize the wires and cables inside the casing to aid airflow and avoid overheating. With the other devices connected to your computer, it will be ready for installation of the operating system. Installing RAM and cleaning CD-ROM drive. The objectives of this exercise are to install RAM, clean CD and DVD drive. Installing RAM. First, determine the kind of RAM you need and whether your computer has enough open slots to hold it. The new RAM should match the existing RAM's specifications. Shut down the computer before replacing RAM. Make sure that the small holes on each side of a SIMM fit into the holders. You can feel the retaining clips lock a SIMM into its socket. Replace all the internal components and turn on the computer. Check the amount of RAM by right-clicking the My Computer icon in the Windows and choosing Properties. Cleaning CD DVD-ROM drive. Use a laser lens cleaner to clean the drive lens. Insert the disk into the drive and let it run for 2 to 3 minutes. If your drive still does not function satisfactorily, then open it and clean the lens with a cotton swab. Troubleshooting hardware and software. The objectives of this exercise are to check for a hardware conflict, check for overheating, check for virus, change a hard disk drive. Checking for a hardware conflict. If your computer starts crashing after you added a new hardware, then remove the hardware and uninstall whatever software you installed with it. If that solves the problem, then contact the manufacturer for the latest driver version that fixes the problem. If it does not solve the problem, then some of the Windows files might have been overwritten by the installed drivers and you need to reinstall Windows. If a computer crash tends to occur after the computer has been running for a while, it could be the result of overheating. Check to make sure that the vents are not blocked and there is good air circulation. Confirm that the computer fan is running. Blow the dust off the circuit board, chips and the fan. Checking for virus. If you have a virus protection software, make sure it's updated regularly. Viruses can appear anytime, and so if you don't have a virus protection software, invest in a program that can scan and clean your hard drive. Changing a hard drive. Disconnect the computer from the power source. Locate the hard drive. Remove the hard drive after confirming if it is a primary or secondary drive. Make sure that the jumper is set to master if it's the primary drive. If it's a secondary drive, then the jumper should be set to slave. Next, attach the ribbon to match the plug of the hard drive and screw it to the bracket. Format your hard drive if it is blank and your new hard drive is now ready to use. Troubleshoot hard drive. The objectives of this exercise are to troubleshoot a hard drive, troubleshooting sound output from the computer. Troubleshooting a hard drive through Windows Device Manager. Open Control Panel and select System icon. Then select Hardware, then Device Manager tab. A graphical tree structure showing all of your PC will be visible in a window. If you select Properties while selecting Disk Drive on the list, you will be able to see the IRQs, DMA channels, and the input-output addresses in use in your PC. It is very useful for resolving resource conflict. through Norton System Information. This utility is similar to the Microsoft Diagnostics, but it is more in detail, and this too is a part of Symantec's Norton utilities. Through Microsoft ScanDisk and Norton Disk Doctor. This is used to check file system corruption and read errors in hard drives. Through Norton Diagnostics. This goes beyond the system information program and actually performs tests on the hardware to identify problems. It includes tests of the processor, motherboard, and system memory. It will also identify some types of resource conflicts. Troubleshooting audio devices. Make sure that the speakers are plugged into the computer through the green output jack on the PC and the power is on. If you're using an add-on sound card and none of the hardware or software fixes is working, then you need to replace the card. If you're using an on-board sound card, it's better to purchase an inexpensive sound card rather than a new motherboard. If you have been altering settings in the BIOS, you may have disabled your onboard sound if that is what you are using. If all this is proper, then click Start, Control Panel, Sounds and Audio Devices, and Volume tab. See if the mute box is checked. If so, uncheck it. In the device volume, see that it is set to a comfortable level. Click the Sounds tab and under Sounds scheme, check to see if no sounds is selected. If so, select Windows Default from the drop-down menu. To test on your sound now, click on a sound listed below the Program Events window. These are indicated by a small speaker icon located next to them. Simply left-click the sound and click the play button. If you can hear the sound now, then you have solved the problem. If not, next click the Audio tab. Under Sound Playback option, make sure the sound card is selected as the default playback device. Usually, only a single audio device appears here unless you have multiple devices installed. If it's grayed out, then your audio device is not installed or your drivers are corrupted and need to be reinstalled. To reinstall, click Start, right-click My Computer, select Properties from the drop-down menu, click the Hardware tab, and then click the Device Manager. The Device Manager will open. Look out for either a red X or a yellow question mark under the sound video and game controllers. If you have a red X, then right-click and select Enable from the pop-up menu and test for sound. If you have a yellow question mark, right-click the device. Click Properties from the pop-up menu and then click on the Driver tab. Then click on Rollback Driver to go back to the previous drivers that were functioning properly. Restart the computer at the prompt. As a last resort, you can even reinstall the drivers. Right-click the device and select Uninstall from the pop-up menu and then restart your computer. Windows will automatically detect and install your audio device on boot up. Clean and replace a computer processor. The objective of this exercise is to replace a computer processor. Replacing a computer processor. Upgrading is possible only within the same processor family, like a faster version of Pentium 3 or Pentium 4 or the Core Duo than the one you are using now. Determine the speed and type of your RAM. After selecting the processor, disconnect the power and all the cables from the computer casing and open it. Remove all the cards fitted in their slots on the motherboard and then remove the motherboard from the casing and place it on an anti-static surface. Unlatch and remove the heat sink and fan. The processor demonstrated here is a Pentium 4 processor. Remove the zero insertion force ZIF lever, remove the old chip and replace it with a new one. CPUs have a marking or a physical shape that ensures that it will only go one way in its socket. Reinstall the heatsink and fan. Refit the motherboard in the casing. Plug in all the expansion cards. Plug in data and power cables. Your computer is now ready to run faster. Testing a computer motherboard. The objectives of this exercise are to test a computer motherboard, change the CMOS battery in a computer, install a power supply. Test a computer motherboard. Turn on the key and press the appropriate key to get into the setup or BIOS configuration. Write down all BIOS settings and set BIOS to default settings. Remove unnecessary cards and peripherals like sound cards and modems. Disconnect the hard drive. Take out the memory and processor. Then reseat them gently and firmly in their slots. Test the motherboard for loose connection. Turn on the computer and note whether it powers on and displays a hard drive error. If not, next swap the power supply and video card from another working computer. Test the computer again. If it powers on, replace the components one at a time until you find the one causing the problem. Turn on the computer and enter the BIOS configuration screen. Configure the settings to the previous setup. Change a CMOS battery in a computer, start the PC and hit Del to go to the configuration menu. Note down all the settings. Switch off your PC, unscrew and open the cabinet. CMOS battery is located on the motherboard. It's just the size of a 5 rupee coin. Remove the battery carefully. Your current settings are lost as soon as you remove the battery. Fit the new battery into the holder. Switch on your PC and navigate to the BIOS settings screen by pressing Del during startup. Enter the settings that you had noted down and press F10 to save and exit the BIOS configuration menu. Install a power supply. The casing needs to be opened to access the power supply. Usually, there are 4 screws that hold the power supply in place. Remove the screws and remove the power supply from its place. Mount the new power supply with the same screws that you removed from the old one. Replace the old supply's connectors to the new one so that it is easy keeping track of the wiring. Once all the connections are done, it is time to connect the power supply and check for its proper working. Install a graphics card. The objective of this exercise is to install a graphics card. Install a graphics card. Uninstall the existing graphics card drivers by right-clicking on My Computer, selecting Properties, clicking on Hardware and clicking on Device Manager. In it, under the section Display Adapter, you will find the graphics card listed. Double-click on it to find out the properties and click on the Driver tab and then the Uninstall button. Then remove the existing graphics card by turning off the PC and disconnecting the power supply. Open the CPU and locate the AGP slot of your motherboard. Unscrew the graphics card from the backplate and remove it. Insert the new card firmly and screw it. Then install the new drivers. If you use Windows XP, it will guide you through the installation process on its own. Once the graphics card is installed and the computer is turned on, the system will automatically detect the new device and prompt you to proceed with the installation. Alternatively, open Control Panel and click on the Add Remove Hardware option. The system will start looking for the new hardware. If it does not detect a new graphics card, the system will prompt you to select from a list of existing cards or add a new device. Locate and select the correct graphics card from the list to begin installation. Install a video card. The objectives of this exercise are to install a video card, install a sound card. Install a video card on a computer. Remove the cover of the chassis. Remove the old video card and fit the new one. If upgrading from an ISA card to a PCI card, find an open PCI slot. Knock out the metal place on the slot holder on the computer back panel and insert the video card gently and firmly into the slot and reboot the computer. If the monitor displays properly, then the card is working. Then follow the on-screen instructions to install drivers and additional software. If Windows does not prompt you, manually complete the installation using the Add New Hardware in the control panel. Install a sound card on a computer. Open the casing and locate the existing sound card if there is one already installed. If the computer does not have one, then knock out the metal plate on the card slot holder and insert the sound card gently but firmly into the slot and fasten the screw. Connect speakers to the sound card port. Turn on speaker and restart the computer. If Windows detects the sound card on boot up, then follow instructions for installation. If not, manually complete the installation through Add New Hardware in the control panel. Play a music CD to test the sound card. Install a broadband modem. The objectives of this exercise are to install a broadband modem. Install a broadband modem. Ensure that you have all the necessary equipment to connect the modem. This includes the modem with a power adapter, Ethernet cable, telephone cord, if you have an ADSL modem. The Ethernet cable connects the broadband modem to your computer, while the telephone cord connects the ADSL line port of the broadband modem to the telephone network. Attach the power adapter to the modem, plug it in and switch it on. To set up your broadband modem, open your web browser and type in the URL of the modem's administrative site. Log into the admin section by entering the username and password found in the user manual. Choose your internet connection type. There are 4 types of broadband internet connections: dynamic IP address, static IP address, PPPoE, PPPoA, and bridge mode. Choose dynamic IP address to access an IP address automatically from your ISP server. You will be provided with an IP address for every broadband internet connection. In some cases, the IP address is dynamic. It changes each time you connect to the internet, and in others, it is static. It is retained even after you disconnect from the internet. In the case of a dynamic address, you will have to select this setting so that the modem automatically takes the IP from the ISP server each time you establish a new broadband internet connection. Enter your modem's MAC address, which is usually found at the rear of the modem. You need to fill in the VPI, VCI, IP address, subnet mask, ISP gateway address, server address, primary DNS address, secondary DNS address, and connection type. You can get these details from your ISP. Choose PPPoE, PPPoA of your ISP used in this type of connection. Generally, DSL users use this connection. Enter the username, password, and other details. Your modem is now set up for use. Enter a URL address in a web browser to check whether your broadband internet connection is working. Troubleshoot DSL modems. The objectives of this exercise are to Troubleshoot DSL modems. Install a wireless DSL modem. Troubleshooting a DSL modem. Switch on the modem. If your modem has an indicator light for being on the internet, check to see if it is green, yellow or red. If the light is green, then it is likely that there is a software configuration issue than a hardware issue. If the status light is not illuminated, then it is due to a connection problem in the modem or the phone line. If both are good, replace the Ethernet cable that is connecting the computer to the modem. If it still fails, then the problem might be with the internal networking hardware. Rerun the DSL modem installation CD. Installing a wireless DSL modem. Plug in the power connector and plug in the cable between the cable modem box and the wireless router. Install the software provided with the router on the computer closest to the router. Turn on the wireless device that you want to access through the router. This can be anything like gaming systems, printers, cameras, laptops, or desktops. But all devices that you want to connect should have a Wi-Fi card installed. This is the hardware which is used to pick up the wireless signal transmitted from the router. Turn on the Wi-Fi option and the device will automatically find any routers that are within the operating radius. Select the router that you have purchased as the default setup and you will be able to access the internet. Multiple users can access the internet at the same time. Install a parallel or serial card and a TV tuner card. The objectives of this exercise are to install a parallel or serial card in the computer. Install a TV tuner card on a computer. Install a parallel or serial card in a computer. Check for available ISA or PCA slots in your computer. Align the card to the matching ISA or PCA slot. Carefully insert the card into the slot and push firmly into place. Secure the card with a screw in the metal tab. Replace cover, plug in the power cord and turn on the computer. If Windows does not automatically detect the new port, open the control panel by clicking Start, Settings, Control Panel. Double-click on the Add New Hardware. Follow the prompts in the wizard. Install a TV tuner card on a computer. Look for an empty slot and insert the TV tuner card in that slot. Connect the antenna to the tuner card. Connect the audio cable between the tuner card and the computer's sound card. Next, you need to install all the drivers on your computer to set up the TV tuner card. Insert the CD that came with the tuner card in the CD tray and select Search Drivers automatically. Your Windows operating system will automatically search for relevant drivers and prompt you to install them. Install an Ethernet PC card. The objectives of this exercise are to install an Ethernet PC card, configuring a master and slave hard disk, install an Ethernet PC card, fit the card in the appropriate slot and press it firmly, fasten it with a screw, restart the computer. Often, Windows will already have the necessary drivers. If prompted, insert the driver CD that came with the Ethernet card and allow Windows to install them. Once the drivers are installed, restart your computer after connecting the Ethernet cable to the internet or your network. Follow the instructions that came with your internet service provider's installation kit to connect to the internet through the DSL modem. Configuring a master or slave hard disk. Most of the hard drives have a label on them which indicate the jumper settings. On the diagram, locate the placement for the master with slave. Carefully place the jumper to this position. If it is a SATA hard disk, connect your SATA cable to the motherboard, making note of the port number that you are connecting it to and then to your hard drive. Start the computer and go to Setup by pressing F2 or Del key. Navigate to the SATA port that you plugged your drive into and check if it is turned on. This is where the port number that you noted down comes of use. Your hard drive is now ready for use. Perform a scan disk function in Windows XP. The objectives of this exercise are to perform scan disk in Windows XP, use Norton SystemWorks. Perform scan disk. Select My Computer from Start button or the icon on the desktop. Then select the hard disk that you want to perform scan disk function by right-clicking on it. Scroll down to the bottom of the pop-up menu and select Properties and then click on Tools menu and check Now. This option will now check the volume of errors. Using Norton SystemWorks. Uninstall any old security and antivirus software. Perform a virus scan using the CD included in the package before installing the software and let it quarantine or delete anything that it finds to be offensive and then install the software. Configure the software to run scan every week. Configure it to allow or disallow cookies and for other levels of protection. Format hard drive with Windows XP. The objective of this exercise is to format a hard drive with Windows XP. Format hard drive with Windows XP. Formatting a hard drive will lose everything on it. Therefore, it is very important to back up anything you might want later. Save everything that you want to a CD, DVD, or a hard drive that you won't be formatting. To format a secondary hard drive, right-click on My Computer and select Manage. A new window titled Computer Management comes up. Select Storage from the left-hand side and then select Disk Management from the right side by double-clicking it. In the lower part of the main frame of the window, you should see a nice visual of all your hard drives. Each line is a different drive, and each box on a line is a partition on the drive. First, you must delete existing partitions on a drive if you want to format it. Do this by right-clicking on the Partitions box and then selecting Delete Partition. You can also format a single partition of your drive if you want to. The box of the drive to be formatted should now have a black bar at the top of it. Right-click on it and select New Partition. In the New Partition wizard, click Next and make sure Primary Partition is selected and click Next. Confirm that the size indicated is the maximum and click Next again. On the next page, the computer will automatically choose the first available drive letter for the new drive. If you want to, you can choose another drive letter from the drop-down menu and then click Next. Finally, the Partition wizard will ask you about the kind of format you want to do. Choose NTFS as it is faster and more secure. Leave the allocation unit size as default and then enter whatever name you want in the volume label window. If the drive is brand new, check the Perform a Quick Format box. If not, leave this box unchecked. Leave the Enable File and Folder Compression box unchecked and click Next and then Finish. Do not close the Computer Management window until it finishes formatting. The word under the size of the drive changes from formatting to healthy when it is done. You can now proceed to use your new formatted hard drive. Formatting and installing from Windows XP CD. Let us see how to reformat a drive from the Windows XP installation CD. Insert the Windows XP installation disk and after a few seconds, it will display press any key to boot from CD. The CD will load up a blue screen and then spend a while loading files it needs. When it is finished, it will list a few options. Mainly press Enter to set up Windows XP. Press Enter. Next, you will be at a screen to select where to install Windows. This is where you can delete old partitions and format drives. The box in the bottom half of the screen shows all your drives and the partitions that exist on them. On the next screen, press the L key to finalize deleting the partition. Now you're back on the screen to choose where to install Windows. The box on the lower half of the screen should no longer show the partitions but have an entry unpartitioned space like this. Select C to create a partition on the drive. The next screen allows you to define the size of the partition. Now you will have to choose the place to install Windows. But this time the drive letter and size will be displayed. Highlight this entry and press Enter. The next screen asks you to choose the type of format. Choose NTFS as it is faster and more secure. If the drive is brand new, then use Quick Format. Else, choose one of the lower down options. Now, you're set for installation of Windows after formatting of the drive. Install a CD-DVD burner in a home computer. The objective of this exercise is to install a CD-DVD writer in a home computer. Install a CD-DVD burner in a home computer. Locate the old drive. Unplug the ribbon cable and power source and remove it. Find the jumper setting at the back of the CD-DVD burner and set it to slave. Jumper settings differ from drive to drive, so consult manufacturer specifications. Insert the new burner in the bay and secure it with screws. Connect the signal cable and the 4-pin power connector. Restart the computer and verify that the burner is recognized and installed correctly. The CD-DVD burner should appear in the My Computer screen. CD burning using one of the familiar softwares is demonstrated here. Troubleshoot a keyboard. The objectives of this exercise are to troubleshoot a keyboard, view system settings in CMOS, change the boot sequence of your computer. Troubleshoot a keyboard. First of all, verify that the connector at the end of the cable is fully inserted into its slot. These are generally color-coded to guide you. If your keyboard is connected by USB cable, try moving to a different USB connector. If it is a wireless keyboard, verify that the batteries are installed correctly. Try replacing the old batteries with new ones. Look for metal objects that may be interrupting the signal between your keyboard and the computer. You may also relocate the keyboard so that it is between 8 and 15 inches from the CPU so the signal is received properly. Changing boot sequence of the computer. Enter CMOS settings screen. Browse through the entries until you see the boot sequence. Change it according to the sequence that you wish to put in place. Save your sequence and press Escape key when you have completed. The boot up sequence will be changed the next time you start the computer. Test a computer motherboard and monitor. The objective of this exercise is to troubleshoot a computer monitor. Computer monitor troubleshooting. First, check for the proper functioning of the on-off button. Confirm that the monitor signal cable is fitted firmly. Try turning off your PC and restarting it after 5 minutes. If that does not work, then unplug the power cord of the monitor, wait for a few minutes and plug it back in. To change the monitor resolution, click Display and then click on the Settings tab. Select the monitor that you want to change if you have more than one monitor. Move the screen area slider until your display is set to the resolution or screen size you want. Click Apply to see what the new one will look like. Then click on OK to accept. To adjust color display from Start menu, click Settings, then Control Panel, double-click Display and click the Settings tab. Select the number of colors you want to display. Install printer. The objective of this exercise is to connect a printer to a computer. Connecting a printer to the computer. If it's a laser printer, leave space on all sides for proper ventilation. An inkjet printer does not require so much space for ventilation. Connect the printer to the computer through a 25-pin parallel port printer cable. Tighten the screws securely. Some printers are connected through a USB cable. Turn on the printer and computer. Install the printer driver software supplied with it. On Windows XP, check to see if this printer is listed by clicking on the control panel and then the printers and faxes. Click on Add a printer. Uncheck the box Automatically Detect and install My Plug and Play Printer and click Next twice to open the list of built-in drivers. Look for your printer and then proceed to install your printer driver. Install Windows XP. The objective of this exercise is to install Windows XP on a computer. Installing Windows XP on your computer. Procure the Windows XP CD pack and look for the product key, which is usually located on the CD case. Place the XP CD in your computer and restart your computer. Press the space bar. As soon as you see, press any key to boot from CD on the screen. The setup has started when the keyboard is operational. At this point, the mouse will not be operational. Follow instructions on the screen. After you accept the license agreement, the setup will select the hard drive to install. You will see the default unpartitioned space on the screen. Using up-down arrows, select Format the partition using NTFS file system. Wait for around 30 minutes until the formatting process is complete. It will copy the setup files after that. Windows XP will now restart with your mouse working. Continue with the installation process. Set the regional and language option and click Next. View the Personalize Your Software page and enter your name and organization's name. On the next page, enter the product key that you noted down from the CD pack. It is a unique 25-character key. Click Next button. Fill in the required information on each page, such as date and time settings, until you reach the Welcome to Microsoft page. Hope you had an effective learning experience. Having gone through these exercises, we wish you would now be in a position to install the various hardware of a computer and also to handle the peripheral devices used apart from tackling some of the minor software issues. Thank you and wish you all the best.
Hello. Today the garment industry is one of the largest industries in the world. And in India, it is the industry that has the highest number of people employed under it. In this video, you'll see demonstration of pattern making, which includes drafting, cutting, and then stitching. To make any garment, one should always begin by taking measurements of the person the garment is intended to make for. We use these measurements to make patterns, and we use these patterns to cut cloth, and by that we stitch them. Thereby we get an entire garment. I wish you very good luck, and now we begin by measurements.
Proportions of human body. The body is divided into 8 equal parts. Head to chin, chin to nipple, nipple to navel, navel to pubic organ to mid-thigh, mid-thigh to below the knee to above the ankle to toe. Some proportions generally differ in men's and women's body.
The following main different features are valid for the women's body: less body height, less shoulder width and narrower chest, larger hip, limbs more delicate, torso a little bit longer, and softer forms. Measuring techniques. When taking measurement, it is most accurate with garments worn to be plain and well fitted. Pull the tape firmly around the body, but not too tight. Keep it parallel to the floor. Measure always around the fullest part of each body area. Measurement chart. Body measurements. Natural waist, full length, shoulder, sleeve length, sleeve at bottom or round arm, chest, bust, waist, hip, neck, across chest, across back, bust level, leg length, inner leg length, knee length, body rise, round knee, round calf, and round bottom. Sewing machine. Sewing machines are available in various models. It can either be domestic, tailor-made, portable, cabinet, or industrial. They can either be operated by hand, treadle, or motor. Hand machines are slower when compared to treadle and motor, but the stitches are fine and neat. A beginner finds the foot of the treadle machine easier to handle, as the control of the speed is very easy when compared to the hand or the motorized machines. The invention of the sewing machine was a great progress in dressmaking, as it made the stitches even, the dresses durable, and the whole process a lot faster. The parts of a treadle sewing machine are common in more or less all sewing machines. They are as follows. Thread guide. This holds the thread in position from the spool to the needle. Tension disc. This is a simple mechanism where two concave discs are put together with the converse sides facing each other. The thread pauses between the two, the spring and a nut, which increases or decreases the pressure of the thread. Take-up lever. This is to feed the thread to the needle and to tighten the loop formed by the stitch. Face plate. It's a removable side cover which gives access to the oiling parts. Needle bar. It's a steel rod which holds the needle. Presser foot is attached to the presser bar and it holds the cloth in position. Bobbin case moves into position to catch the top thread and forms the stitch. Presser foot lifter is a lever attached to the presser bar for raising and lowering the presser foot. Stitch regulator. This controls the length of the stitch. Bobbin winder. It facilitates the winding of the thread on the bobbin. Stop motion screw. It is the center of the flywheel and it engages and disengages the stitching mechanism. Slide plate. It is a rectangular plate that can be slide open to remove or insert the bobbin case. Needle plate or throat plate is a semi-circular plate with a hole to allow the needle to pass through. Feed dog. It consists of a set of teeth fitted below the needle plate. Sewing machine needles are of various types. The types depend upon the fabric used and the type of thread used to stitch. The upper part of the needle is called a shank and the lower part of the needle is called a shaft. The sizes range from 9 to 19. When selecting the needle, one should remember that the finer the weight of the fabric, the finer the needle should be. 3-thread overlock machine. Securing the raw edges of a seam allowance with overlock machine is a very fast way of finishing. Overlock machine can also be used to two pieces of fabric together. It cuts the edges and secures them in one operation. Parts of the machine. Needle bar, thumb screw, thread cutter, presser foot, needle, tension set for needle, tension set for underlooper, cloth plate, slide cover, hand wheel, feed ratio, sight glass, lower and upper knife. Care and maintenance of the machine. Regular cleaning, oiling and care of the machine ensures satisfactory sewing and a long life.
Good morning, India. My young friend.